Tonight, Streaky Bay without a GP for a week, and Greens members tour renewable energy projects in the Spencer Gulf.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with Louise Hedger begins now.
Good evening. Regional South Australia's GP crisis has hit Streaky Bay Medical Clinic, with the town going without a doctor this week. Patients in emergency situations are being forced to travel to seek medical assistance at centres which are over 100 kilometres away.
The GP crisis has been facing the region for years, often leaving towns around the Eyre Peninsula without a permanent doctor, and this week one community is going without. Streaky Bay Medical Clinic left without a doctor after its primary specialist took annual leave.
In my 12 months, this is the first time we've gone for a whole week without a GP being in the town and able to provide a service to the local hospital.
The Rural Doctor Workforce Agency is in charge of providing GPs to rural towns who are unable to find a temporary doctor.
So they were looking for another GP around Australia, as we were, and there were just none available in the whole of Australia.
Nurses are now left with the job of trying to fulfil the growing demand for medical attention, forced to take on the role as both nurse and doctor.
The local hospital and the nursing staff there can utilise a system called SAVE, and it's like a video conferencing where they can get instructed by doctors.
In emergencies, patients are being redirected to hospitals in Ceduna, Woodner, Elliston and Port Lincoln, all over 100 kilometres away. Scott Lewis says he's seen an increase of patients travelling to Woodner.
The whole region is struggling with its medical workforce at the moment. We have towns like Kimber that have had no doctor and still have no doctor.
Around South Australia, there are around 60 GP shortages in regional areas.
You can just see it, the congestion and the burden that the public health system in the cities has been put under. It really shows that making that investment in rural areas would be a wise choice.
The state government says it's currently developing a rural health workforce strategy, aiming to recruit more GPs for regional communities. Streaky Bay's doctor will return from annual leave next week. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Members of the New South Wales Greens Party say the state can use the Upper Spencer Gulf as a blueprint in helping communities transition into renewable energy. The politicians today visiting a number of the region's clean energy projects.
Has South Australia got what every state wants?
It was a unique opportunity to work out why it's happening here and it's not happening across the rest of the country.
Greens members visiting the Upper Spencer Gulf to see the projects which have created its renewable reputation.
Just having a chat to the Coltana people, both the solar project and off to the Lincoln wind farm soon, as well as Sundrop.
Led by member of the Legislative Council, Tammy Franks, the trio, including 2 members from New South Wales, are hoping to learn the lessons in the region's shift from coal.
And what we can do in New South Wales to really develop that plan.
We need to make sure that the jobs are available. We need to make sure that it's a planned transition.
Mrs. Frank says strong community support in the Upper Spencer Gulf has led to strong investment.
It's no good having a transition away from coal or away from fossil fuels if you don't actually bring the community with you.
As well as a bipartisan focus on clean energy, which the Liberals forecast will see the state produce 100% renewables by 2030.
It's that stable policy framework that's been missing in New South Wales, and I think that's one of the key messages.
With Labor and Liberal on the same page, this is where you can see the future in renewables in Australia.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Natural Resources SA says it's growing increasingly concerned that ecological damage is being caused to the Mid-North's waterways. It's calling on property owners to be mindful when building dams or contour banks, which can heavily impact the ecology of the surrounding environment. A growing number of water activities are under investigation. If you're planning to carry out any activities which may impact water resources, call Natural Resources SA for consultation. Welfare group Uniting Country SA is upping the ante in its efforts to work alongside local Indigenous groups in the Spencer Gulf. A reconciliation action plan is to be implemented over the next 4 years.
Strengthening the voice of Indigenous people in our region. Uniting Country SA is furthering its reconciliation action plan in an effort to help bolster consultation and advocacy.
But we wanted to do it in a more coordinated way. And we wanted to listen and learn from Aboriginal communities in our area.
The organisation was initiated in 2014 to assist the development of a greater Indigenous workforce along with building better channels with clients. Robina Hall is a case manager with the Tali program and says it is important for the region moving forward.
It's a great idea that Aboriginal people, like the workers and the clients, are involved and be welcoming in the organisation.
Greater workplace inclusion and building lasting relationships within the community being prioritised.
Just have recognition of Aboriginal people in the community and in the organisation.
The Wellbeing Group also hoping to expand its programs out into northern South Australia.
From Coober PD right through to Port Augusta and in all of the regions where we are present. So it is very important to have Aboriginal people a part of that.
Making a safe space within the organisation to assist with fostering cultural inclusion within communities.
Understanding what it is that they need and what the issues in the community are, and listening to their voices and walking alongside them.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Broken Hill Police has been working with a different type of colleague this week, with Chase the police dog teaming up with local officers in town as part of a 3-day operation. The dog, who's travelled all the way from Sydney, is sniffing out crime and conducting general duties.
Each day of the operation we've had a number of arrests of people wanted on offenders, and they'll be put before the courts.
Officers say having a canine unit alongside them is a big deterrent for offenders thinking of fleeing, with the German Shepherd running as fast as 50 kilometres an hour. Police dogs tend to visit the city every few months. Police have arrested a driver in Port Augusta who allegedly returned a blood alcohol level more than twice the legal limit. The 26-year-old man from the Northern Territory didn't hold a driver's licence and also had children in the car not wearing a seatbelt. He was charged with a number of offences, including drink driving with children under 16 present. The man was refused bail. Still to come tonight, more mental health support in regional communities and a warning for parents of children under 5. Welcome back. 2 regional towns in South Australia are set to be shortlisted for up to 10 years of mental health funding and support. The initiative, called Our Town, is hoping to support communities who have limited access to networks.
Building hope for those doing it tough. The Our Town grant program seeking to fill a void of a regional mental health network spread thin, with 10 years of support.
To empower South Australian towns to tackle their specific mental health challenges. It's something that came out of some research that we had commissioned.
The foundation hoping to bring vital support to help tackle regional South Australia's mental health challenges, seeking to help out those residing outside of metropolitan areas and regional hubs, with a multi-million-dollar funding campaign.
We're not putting a definition on mental health. We want that to mean whatever it does specific to that town, but we are looking for towns that have a population of under 10,000 residents.
We still have really big gaps that just aren't being covered at the moment, where people are slipping through.
Anthony North is a member of Port Pirie's Suicide Prevention Networks and says grassroots action is a vital step towards finding a way forward.
Funding like this to set up smaller type practices or smaller type events that might actually just lift a group.
Hoping to see one of the communities in the mid-north receive the grant.
Not everybody wants to live out into the regions. And even in a place like ours, we still struggle to get professionals into our place, and we're quite a big part of this region.
If you are in need of help, call Lifeline on 13 11 14. Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A report from the Far West Local Health District has revealed lead levels in the region's children are decreasing. 2018 saw a slight drop in infant lead levels, but health professionals say more work needs to be done.
levels decreasing, but the risks are still there.
This report overall provides an update of the ongoing public health issue of blood lead levels in children, especially under the age of 5 in Broken Hill.
The key findings in the report show a slight decrease in blood lead levels in the children living in the region. 637 children were screened across 2018. The average lead level from all aged between 1 and 5 decreased from 5.7 micrograms per decilitre of blood in 2017 to 4.7.
Ideally, every child under the age of 5 we would like to see tested.
The report finding levels in Indigenous children are double that of non-Indigenous, with Priscilla saying there needs to be an increased focus on reducing that gap, calling for parents and carers to have their children tested annually until they're 5 years old.
The Child and Family Health Centre, Marama Primary Health Care and GPs can provide information to families with young children.
Patrick Ryankey, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Customers at Port Lincoln's Baker's Delight store have been involved in creating their own sweet treats, all in the name of charity. Money raised today going towards Give Me 5 for Kids to buy life-saving hospital equipment for sick children.
A sweet treat helping raise money for a national fundraiser to support our sickest children. Port Lincoln's Baker's Delight jumping on board today, an event attracting sweet tooths from around the town.
We're letting the kids come in and decorate their own fun buns and for a gold coin donation, and then that money's then going to the Give Me 5 for Kids Foundation.
The customers here getting the chance to make their own fun bun with colourful icing and, of course, plenty of sprinkles. But there is a serious side. The money raised here will help buy life-saving equipment for children in country hospitals.
Someone else needs help, and I feel like because I'm donating, it's kind of fun that I'm actually helping someone else and trying to do something fun as well.
The event so popular at this bakery last year, it's hosting it again. Over the past 25 years, Give Me 5 for Kids has raised close to $26 million for children's hospitals.
We love helping out charities around town and just love giving back to the community. We got a lot of support from people around town that buy from us, so it's good to give back to the community.
It's a good way to make people know what's the issue. It's really good.
Fundraising for the national charity runs till the end of July. Country businesses encouraged to get on board and raise as much as possible.
I would like to go for about $200 if we could, and but lots of people have been putting in notes and stuff, so I think we should reach that figure very easily.
As for the kids' verdict on the buns?
They're good. Love them.
Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Input welcomed Broken Hill St Pat's Race Day, asking for community ideas, and we'll have the weather details with Britt. Hello again. It may be 8 months away, but preparations for the next Broken Hill St Pat's race meeting have begun. Organisers are encouraging locals to give feedback on what they'd like to see in 2020.
The luck of the Irish already in the air.
Tonight we're actually holding our first meeting to start planning for 2020. You've got to start these things 8-9 months out because there's so much involved.
2020 will see the 55th anniversary of the St Pat's Race Day. Organisers looking for feedback from 2019 racegoers on what to improve or add to the festivities.
People can come on and say, look, we think you need more toilets, we think you need more shade or shelter, we think you need probably to look at the buses getting people home at the end of the day.
New additions this year included a paved entrance with banners, more food and drink options and additional shade for patrons. Mr Schmidt says there's a few projects underway.
And we're looking at improving it in terms of knocking down a couple of old structures, building a couple of new structures where we can create a bit of a food and drinks court.
The St Pat's Racing Club says the March weekend as a whole is one of the biggest on Broken Hill's calendar. Mr Schmidt saying there's more to it than a day at the races.
Harness racing's biggest night of the year is Friday night. We have the Silverton Recovery Day on Sunday, which is massive.
Patrick Ryankey, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
13 footballers from the Spencer Gulf have been recognised for their on-field abilities with selection in the state's country squad. The 33-man squad was selected off the back of strong performances in last weekend's country championships held at Port Pirie. The team will travel to Perth in 2 weeks' time, where they'll take on Western Australia Country at Optus Stadium. Now let's see where the fish are biting. Here's this week's fishing tips.
Welcome another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips from Port Pirie. I've found out that we've got lots of salmon trout around the place. So any of the runoff creeks along our mangrove system, you'll find salmon trout. King George Whiting, we've been moving further south, but the tip that we'll give you is try Barrows Beach. We're coming around with small snapper at the moment. I think the tide, you have to spend the hours to make sure that you're there. So the normal process that you're having 2 hours before, 2 hours after is not quite working. So use a little bit more patience and you will be rewarded.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Well, first-hand tips today. Yesterday we got absolutely nothing. About 4 squid and 2 crabs. But they have been really patchy. Hopefully a bit of a wind will bring them on. There are some snapper reports from down around the Seabird and also salmon down around Chinaman's Creek, and the whales are up as well. And that's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day, welcome to this week's Fishing Tips from Port Lincoln. Not a lot of news from up at Tumby Bay this week, but there should be a few bream around in the Todd River and a few flatted around the beaches up there too. Moving down into the bay at Port Lincoln, the whiting fishing has been pretty good. Moving down to the south coast, there's been plenty of salmon down there when the swell's down. Moving over to Coffin Bay side, the whiting been going really well at Farm Beach. Inside the bay it's been a little bit slow with a lot of smaller fish around. Plenty of salmon trout inside there though for the kids. That's about it for this week. We'll see you guys again next week.
And time to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Britt.
Good evening. We've had a fine and mostly sunny day, and I love it when the numbers are all in order here. Port Augusta with a top of 18 degrees today, Whyalla 17, Port Lincoln, Broken Hill and Port Pirie all 16, and Adelaide down the bottom there with a top of 15 degrees. Today a cold front crossed coastal areas with scattered low cloud over the region. Moving on, northerly winds at up to 20 knots on the Gulf tomorrow with seas at 2 metres, and the sun will rise just after 7:20 in the morning. It's going to be cold tonight with minimum temperatures dropping right down in the early hours of tomorrow. The day will start out with frosty conditions before the sun comes in. Port Augusta and Woodner both looking sunny with tops of 20 tomorrow. Whyalla 19, Corn, Broken Hill, Port Pirie and Cleve all 18 degrees tomorrow. Port Lincoln, Coffin Bay and Adelaide 17, Kadina 16, Clare a top of 15. Now let's take a look at the weekend. Thanks to a significant cold front coming our way, we can expect strong winds Saturday across the whole region, easing on Sunday. Port Lincoln also with showers on Saturday, a top of 20 degrees, Sunday 16. Cleve and Woodner both with maximums in the early 20s on Saturday, Sunday 17. Whyalla and Port Augusta looking at tops of 23 degrees Saturday, Sunday 19. Kadina kicking off the weekend with a max of 20 degrees. Port Pirie 21 on Saturday, Sunday 17, Clare 18 Saturday, showers on Sunday, a top of 13, and Broken Hill a top of 20 degrees on Saturday, Sunday sunny and 18. And that's all from me for today, Louise. I'll be back tomorrow with more info on Saturday's gusty forecast.
All right, Britt, thanks for that. And that's your local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll have updates later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.